Okay, first things first, Stuart. What is behind you? What is in the cage or
In the tank?
thing? In the tank? That's what I want to know.
We have a bearded dragon. So yeah, he keeps me company during the day. He's
in here talking on mute. I
got
had
his beady
bearded
eyes on me
dragons
in a
growing
minute.
up.
Did
I
you?
had,
didn't know that.
yep, Rachel and Leah. One ate the other one, not to like start off on a morbid note, but
Oh, nice.
they live forever.
Yeah, I got him as an adult through the ISPCA, so I'm not exactly sure how old he is, but he's doing all right. I just hope he doesn't start scratching the glass halfway through this because it can make a bit of a noise. I can always get him out, put him on my shoulder.
Oh my God. We've had puppies on. We've never had any other animals, so I'm impressed. Alex, we need the chickens on at some point.
Is it your first reptile on the show?
Yeah,
I think so.
First reptile. I'm going to put that in our end of year stats for the show. How many reptiles we've had?
The chickens wouldn't stay still. They would go a little crazy.
That would be entertaining just for the masses. Let's have a pets episode where we montage all the pets together. Well, welcome to both of you to your first episode on Keys. So I'll start us off. So welcome everyone to the Keys to AWS Optimization, the show where we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help you unlock your spend at AWS. My name is Stephanie Gooch. I am a senior commercial architect in the optics team at AWS. Alex?
My name is Alex Head, and I lead the optics team at AWS.
Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about education when it comes to the cloud. And a lot of what our team does in optics is educate customers, but we wanted to bring in an expert to learn a bit more about how we can improve that education. So we've got Stuart in. Stuart, do you want to give us your 1-minute origin story?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Stuart Scott. I'm the AWS Content Director for Cloud Academy. Been here 6 years now, 7 years in July. So I've been here quite a while. So I lead a team of people, and we basically create new content on AWS across all different categories for online courses. I think I've created north of 200 courses. We've got over, I think, 350 to 400 AWS courses in our library. So we maintain that digital library along with the learning paths as well, which cover all the AWS certs. I think I've reached about 1 million students now with my courses. That was kind of breached just in the new year, so that was a nice milestone to reach. But yeah, I love what I do. I love teaching. I love being able to share the knowledge I've picked up over the years and kind of relate it in a way to help people develop their growth, whether that's personal or helping large organizations migrate to the cloud and how to secure it, optimize it, and configure it basically. So
cool, thanks.
That's me.
Can I ask you a question? I know I'm going rogue, Steph, on your origin story.
Sure.
I'm just curious because, I think in this cloud world that we live in, it's interesting to me for people who shift more towards that teaching and education. And I think it's like a part of all of our day-to-day job, right? Like optics has a pillar in our goals that's always around scale, teach to fish sort of thing. But what was it Cloud Academy itself that drew you to kind of jump into that teaching world, or did you have an element of that in all of your previous roles before you joined Cloud Academy?
Interestingly, I didn't know. So in my previous role in a previous company, they was looking to migrate and navigate to the cloud, and it was a big internal push. This is going back like 7 years now. They said, right, let's focus on AWS. Let's try and migrate and utilize AWS services. And I thought this would be something good to do. I kind of knew what the cloud was loosely at that time, but I really wanted to learn more about it and kind of become certified in it and just be a part of that team internally where I was to help drive that project through. So I started kind of going off in my own time, reading, researching, learning, just trying to enhance my skills in the area because I didn't have any kind of production workloads to work with. So I set myself up my own account to mess around with, the free account. And then I started writing blog posts about what I'd picked up and what I'd learned from online documentation, etc., just to try and help others and to reaffirm that what I was learning was correct. And it started getting some really good responses. I was asked by an advanced learning partner of AWS at the time if I could write some blogs for some of their technology, which I agreed to do. That went down really well. And then that's when I encountered Cloud Academy and done a similar project for Cloud Academy at the time regarding AWS security. And then from then on, a position opened up within Cloud Academy. And I was like, this sounds great. As I've been kind of writing these blogs and technical posts and answering people's questions online, I really like that feeling of being able to take what I've learned to help others and to kind of write it down in such a way where people are getting that light bulb moment of, that's what it means, or that's how it works. And I really enjoyed that interaction with the feedback I was getting. And I thought, you know what, I'd love to do this as a living and teach, learn, always doing something different, because as you know, the cloud never stands still, especially with AWS. So there's always something to learn.
Yeah, and that's really like, I mean, what draws me to Cloud Academy, why we use it kind of across our team as well, is that my favorite thing about, and I've probably said this like 10 times on here, my favorite thing about the FinOps world and how it's evolving is because it is this way for people who maybe thought that the barrier to entry into a technical role was so big, and I didn't go to college for that, and I can't go back and get a master's or a degree, and my degree is in animal science and it has nothing to do with technology. But like companies like Cloud Academy and how you approach it too, it's just, we have to continuously learn, even if you were born in this space, because it's always changing, and so it kind of gives you that opportunity to do that.
Definitely. The landscape is constantly evolving. Not just across AWS, but all the cloud vendors, and as a technology as a whole in this space, it's just constant development. And not just in one area, such as, optimized performance or security or networking. It's everywhere. It's just expanding at such a rate of growth. It can be difficult to keep up with everything. So, but it is good to continue to learn, because you need to know what's out there to be able to architect and design and implement what you're trying to do with the best services and the most efficiency as well.
Yeah, and I'll jump in on that and just say, if anyone watching has any questions or comments about that and wants to learn more, or has any suggestions for education or things that they've done to learn a bit more, then feel free to drop a comment in the chat or email us at costoptimization.com. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can comment underneath and we can kind of get back to you. But talking about kind of learning, you've brought with you a link to share. Do you want to just highlight what this is?
Yeah, so anyone who's watching right now or going forward, there's a link there that will give you 2 weeks free access to the entire Cloud Academy library. All you need to do is just enter your name and email address, and you'll get free access to our content. So please come and take a look, come and check it out. And there's a link on there as well that directs you to a FinOps learning path with regards to how to optimize cost management within AWS, and it contains over 10 hours of content with courses, lab challenges, and assessments as well. So yeah,
cool.
Come check it out.
Lots of fun stuff. Yeah, I really recommend checking it out, and let us know if you do and how you get on. And don't forget to stick around to the end of the episode when we're going to go over some other platforms and ways in which you can learn as well. But let's get into some topic and some recommendations. So Stuart, when you work or speak to customers, where does a customer start with education when it comes to kind of maybe optimizing their infrastructure or modernizing it?
Sorry, you broke up a little bit there, Steph. Sorry, can you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Where do customers start when you look to start educating about optimizing infrastructure? Oh, is it me? Have I broken up?
Oh, you're back. You're back.
Okay. Am I back? This always happens.
Third time lucky. It might be me. I do apologize.
No, but it's probably me. Whenever Alex comes on, I swear my internet.
Yeah. No, you're not breaking up for me, but I don't know if you can hear me. So, but just kind of where do companies start when looking at
where do companies start? Yeah. That's always a tricky one, because when you're taking on a big project, say for example a cloud migration, or you're looking to modernize your infrastructure, it's a big change to a business with risks, costs, and resources. But one of those elements as well is understanding if you have the right skills in the business to make it a successful project for your cloud migration, for example. So the first step I would suggest always doing is a baseline of your current skills in your organization, just to understand who within your teams has the abilities and understanding to carry it out successfully. You know, you don't want to start this big project and then realize halfway through, hold up, we're drawing a blank here. We don't have to do this next step. That only slows things down and costs more money. So having that baseline is essential. You can get us through a number of ways, but one of the easiest ways is an assessment to assess those skills. And then once you've got that gap analysis of what's missing, you can then implement a training plan to help people upskill within the organization. I always feel it's better to help your employees upskill within rather than bring in external resource. I think that kind of boosts morale for internally, especially when there's a big change going on and everyone's always a bit wary of, you know, new tech, especially if it's been an on-prem infrastructure for 25 years. There might be some of your employees there that have been there for that whole duration. And then you say, we want to move to the cloud. And it's a bit like, oh, how's that going to affect me? And then you start bringing these other people in with all these skills. It's, you know, can upset the apple cart a little. So, yeah, once you've got that gap analysis with the skills, then you can adopt a training program to help upskill everyone as well. You want to be able to make sure people can design, optimize, secure, you know, and configure what you're running. And it never stops there either. Let's go with that cloud migration example. The first stage will be to, you know, set up your core infrastructure and start moving some of your apps across and data. But then once you're fully embedded with that AWS, it's then having that those skills to be able to optimize what you have, make sure it's performing right. Is it secure? Are you meeting all the regulations that you need to for your industry? Is it resilient? Is it scalable? And it's those ongoing operations that you need to constantly maintain and keep training for and learning, because it's always changing. There's always a better and new way to do it, especially in the security space, because there's always new risks coming up and there's new defenses. So that's a continual learning program with regards to security.
And John, who is a lot of times on the show, and he might have said this in the past, but one thing I heard him say to one of our large customers at the end of last year going into reInvent was, he was like, more and more customers who are growing in this space are starting to look at FinOps and optimization as they do security. It's not these like 3-month fire drills. It's not, hey, go learn it and then step away. It's how do I build with optimization in mind? How do I build with efficiency? How do I build to make sure what I'm building is secure? And like bringing that in. I will say on that, I think one thing that you mentioned that I want to go back to a little bit is up-leveling each other. And a platform like Cloud Academy really helps with that. Can you go in a little bit of some of the views you can create so that, say I am your customer, right? And I want to have some gamification around what we're learning and get the team excited. And I mean, all you have to do is like slightly say the word competition in front of Steph and she like goes a little crazy.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a whole skill dashboard within Cloud Academy, where as an organization, you can split it down into teams and assign different training plans to different teams and roles and departments, etc. And there'll be a leaderboard there that you can take a look at to see who's got the most skill in different kind of categories, whether it's broken down into compute, storage, networking, or even to specific services like ECS, EC2, S3. So it's a great way to see that level and how your peers are progressing as well, especially as they complete the assessments and the labs challenges as well. And you can see that skill growth increasing. And like you say, as soon as you mention gamification, a lot of people think, oh, this would be good fun. And it also helps to increase the level of engagement as well when you're trying to implement a new training program. Because that's another thing as well, is when you do come to adopt training and there is a project going on, you can be resistant to learning something new internally sometimes, where people don't want to change, and you need to try and help them understand why this is a good idea. One of the ways I've seen is to focus the benefit it brings to the individual rather than to the organization itself, to show them this is great for you. Kind of highlight how it can increase their skill base, brings them in line with new technology that's out there. And it also helps to increase their developmental growth as well if they want to progress internally, or even if they decide to go somewhere else. You want them to stay internal. It's good. It shows investment into their own employees that want to invest in them. So
that's a really good point. Alex was talking a lot about this at re:Invent, and I'll kind of get you to continue that, where we were talking a lot about career development and making FinOps and cloud financial management part of that career development. Alex, you gave that kind of talk a lot at re:Invent. Do you remember it? Want to go over some of the highlights?
Seems a long time ago now, re:Invent.
Yeah, I know. Well, and poor Steph, I mean, actually, I won't say poor Steph because I had to probably hear it more than she did. But they had us in and out of meetings most of re:Invent, and I dragged Steph along to a good amount of them. But yeah, I think so. One thing is that we're learning, and I'm sure you see this on the Cloud Academy side too, is we can give the information, we can teach as much as possible. But a lot of times the difference in that cultural shift that these customers and companies have is that learning from each other piece. And so what we talked about is how they should highlight, someone who maybe had an optimization win or an efficiency win, right? Let that person or that team have that career moment. Let them, even if it's just like a 30-minute thing, talk about how they did it, and then have the learning materials to go along with it. And so it's showing that celebration for trying something new. And it's also allowing that person to be the voice of the change in the education. Definitely. And say, like, my bosses are celebrating this, right? But then you have consistent learning materials to go along with it.
Definitely. And organizations can also offer incentives as well for people who reach a certain level in the program, or they might achieve a certification. That's another thing that we've seen works really well. But like you say, having that moment or that group, almost like an internal community that they can build. Maybe host lunch and learn sessions, where, okay, we're all going through this learning path together. Everyone was learning about databases this week. Let's meet for an hour and talk about any questions or things we're not sure on, and bounce ideas off each other. It's a great way to kind of build that internal kind of communication and shared knowledge. Because some people don't like learning alone. Some people find it hard to motivate themselves to get started. So if there's something like that as well, where you can, even if it's an internal webinar, or joining one of our webinars or your webinars, where you have the opportunity to ask questions as a group, and to speak to those who may have a bit more knowledge or experience in it.
We've started doing that a bit with AWS certifications. So people have started grouping together to kind of learn together, to kind of encourage them, because sometimes you feel like you can't carve out any time, but having someone else to be like, someone to keep you accountable, I think is a nice way of doing it. I'm going to throw up a question that we got from the audience, which is a good one. How do you tailor cloud education to non-technical groups such as finance, leadership, etc.? So have you got any advice for kind of pushing towards that kind of content?
Yeah, definitely. We have content that covers that as well, because especially with your finance or your HR or your senior leadership, they don't need to know the deep technical details of how to architect and how to implement something or secure something, but they do need to have a level of understanding of vocabulary of the cloud, essentially, and some of the core benefits and reasons for moving to the cloud. And that's kind of more for your finance and your leadership. Really understanding those benefits and reasons behind and why people are adopting the cloud so much. What can this do for us as a business? So we cover those elements at a high level from a business stance, a finance stance. So for those non-technical people, much like what the cloud practitioner does, because it's not designed for those the real technical roles. It's more designed to give you an overview of the cloud, some of the core services, so you can have those conversations in a room and understand what people are talking about, but you don't need to know the real deep configurational level. So yeah, that's a really important point, and something that we definitely cater for, because we hear it from our customers. We know it's a need, and it's often where you start off as well, just to learn about the cloud, like the concepts of the cloud, what the advantages, etc.
And I'll just throw up again, for those that have seen people join in the last 10 minutes, we have this link that enables you to go get a free 2-week trial of Cloud Academy with some focused learning paths as well. So go and check that out to see a bit more about what we're talking about with these learning paths, which also takes me into another question. Someone just said, Cloud Academy is great. So it's an endorsement there for you, which does lead me into question, which is and so let's focus on what differentiates Cloud Academy as a cloud education provider. Mainly I want to hear, I don't really care about your competitors necessarily. I want to hear what is something that you really think is valuable as part of the platform that you guys have.
Well, we're a skills readiness solution effectively, so we can assess the skills you have internally, identify the gaps, and then provide plans to upskill your internal employees in the areas that they need to, whether that's from role-based areas or going for certifications, and actively map and track those skills in a progressive state. So as they learn, you can clearly see where they're learning and where they are in a position to everyone else. So that's a huge factor that we have around our skills. It's backed by AI and ML, with a variety of different assessments and smart labs, smart assessments. But yeah, we have our courses. We have lots of different assessments and knowledge checks throughout the whole platform to make sure, testing you to make sure that you are retaining the knowledge that we're teaching. We have a whole platform of labs, ranging from just your standard labs, kind of guided labs, gives you a step-by-step on what to do. Then we have the lab challenges, where the steps are removed and you're given a situation and you have to resolve it or configure something without those steps, and you're assessed along the way. And then we have our lab playgrounds as well, which is kind of an open environment to practice what you've learned.
Cool. So I wanted to kind of coming into the last bit of the session, and so we've already kind of covered top things to do are definitely kind of get a baseline for what knowledge you currently have, make sure that you incentivize people to do this by maybe gamifying it or showing how it's going to help them rather than the customer, and also from that question, tailoring it. And so one thing that we talked about in our prep call for this was the people have different ways in which they like to learn. There's labs and stuff like that, but maybe I'll throw it to Alex. Alex, how do you like to learn? What's your choice of method?
So first off, I have to have a project that I'm doing that ties with it. It's a necessity. I blame my not so great college and high school GPA on that. But I like to build as I'm learning. There's only so much that I can just sit there and listen to, and part of that's my ADHD brain. But when I do Cloud Academy and when I go in and learn or some of the things that I've made in there, I try to mix here, read or watch, and then go and try. And usually as I'm trying, then it leads me to I want to actually learn what this is too, because now I'm touching this, and it kind of goes from there.
Nice. I mean, yeah, I was throwing up the labs link that we have for AWS, because obviously there's a lot of content out there. There's different ways in which you can get stuff. I think definitely I'm one of those people as well who I need something to do it. I don't it's when people ask me, how do you learn to code? And it's just like, you don't just suddenly sit at a keyboard and like, la, 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 just stop typing random stuff. You need a project to do it. And one of my friends is actually doing a course, and she's like, knowing she actually works in finance, nothing to do with the cloud, but she's decided on herself to go and do a coding course to learn about SQL and about Python, because
Nice.
she's realized after, I don't think just from talking to me, but like from realizing in the world, that it needs to upskill in this area. And so I'm going to hopefully help her. I'm looking forward to kind of using some of my knowledge with friends to kind of help them upskill in things like Python. But yeah, I definitely think that like she has a project that which she's going to build for, and that's like a definite way of doing it.
Yeah, so many people learn in different ways that I've seen over the years as well. Like some people like the video approach, being able to watch something and then try it themselves. I mean, the content is thrown in our faces everywhere we go these days. You can get it wherever you want, on your laptop, your phone, your watch. You
can get it from us.
Pretty much everywhere now. But it's how they, also the different types of online content. If it's just slides and animation, which are great for kind of learning initial concepts, kind of beginner fundamental stuff, it really helps to visualize how it's put together. As you start to get to the more intermediate advanced levels, I've noticed that with a lot of, especially network engineers, they like to see whiteboarding of a diagram drawn out, rather than just a picture, but kind of drawing it out at the same time as you're talking about it. It's how they tend to work in their own office environments when they're designing new designs, sketching it out as a group. As you have your instructor-led training where you got access to a live SME. Some people prefer that because they can ask questions as they're learning the content. Your webcasts, your podcasts, and obviously books. Don't forget books. They're still there.
I'm gonna throw up the FinOps Foundation of just publishing their new book, the second one. So you can check that out. It will be on Amazon soon. That's what they told me. That's not a plug for our own Amazon. That's just what they said. But yeah, I mean, I have what the cloud is sitting on behind me. There's the FinOps book from last time, and some people love a book. I struggle. I'm dyslexic, so the book's not as fun for me.
Yeah, it works sometimes. Some people still like a book. I used to like studying from, we're going back in the day now to like when I was taking my Windows 95 cert. That's a long time ago. and Windows NT. So yeah, it was all books then. There wasn't much online content at that time. But nowadays it's so much more convenient to watch a video, whether that's on your phone whilst you're commuting or whatever. You got 10 minutes to kill, just watch a quick training video or something like that. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways.
Did you see a shift on Cloud Academy, how people were consuming content when pandemic hit and when everyone was at home, or did it stay pretty consistent?
It definitely increased, because I think people were realizing that they need to, or there's an opportunity there to learn new skills. Unfortunately, as we know, a lot of people lost their jobs. There was a lot of change going on. So people were looking to upskill in different areas. But also at the same time, because more people were working from home, everything was kind of more remote, there was more cloud elements to their infrastructure required. So at the same time there, it was kind of upskilling for their own internal business as well. So yeah.
Nice. Awesome. All right. So we've got 1 minute left. I'm just going to throw up this link again. Go try what we're talking about. It's free. I feel like
please do.
Yeah, have a go. Any last 1 minute thoughts you want to share?
For me, I think there's always a time to learn something new. Even if you've been doing the job for 10, 15, 25 years, there's always an opportunity to learn something new. And it's very easy to get content online these days, not just from Cloud Academy, but anywhere. If you have some time, you want to learn, then you can definitely make it happen.
Yeah, and let us know. Someone just said, what's the link? I'll just post it back up on the banners. There, info, or email me costoptimization@amazon.com and I can send it. And this will be on the YouTube video. Paste it here. We'll do. Okay, thanks everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope everyone has a good week. Next time we'll be talking about forecasting with Optic's own Jeff. So come back then, and see you guys next week. Thanks.
Thank you very much, guys.
Bye.
Bye.